Have you ever wondered how one man, barely in his 30s, managed to conquer most of the known world? This man was none other than Alexander the Great. And at the height of his reign, his empire stretched from Greece to Egypt and as far east as India. His life, full of ambition and conquest, is shrouded in mystery and controversy. His death, still a topic of heated debate. Let's dive into the life of this legendary figure and attempt to unravel the mystery that is Alexander the Great. Born in 356 BC to King Philip II and Queen Olympias, Alexander was destined for greatness. From the heartland of Macedonia, nestled in the northern reaches of ancient Greece, came a boy who would become the world's greatest conqueror. Alexander's childhood was steeped in the richness of Macedonian culture, filled with tales of Greek gods and epic heroes. His mother, Queen Olympias, a fiercely intelligent and spiritual woman, played an integral role in his upbringing. She not only nurtured his mind but also instilled in him a sense of divine destiny. The influence of Olympias was so profound that Alexander would carry her teachings with him throughout his life, shaping his worldview and leadership style. Education, too, played a pivotal role in young Alexander's life. At the age of 13, he was sent to study under the tutelage of the great philosopher Aristotle. In the serene groves of Mieza, Aristotle imparted knowledge of philosophy, politics, and the arts to Alexander. It was here that Alexander developed a voracious appetite for learning and a deep appreciation for Greek culture. This period of intellectual cultivation under Aristotle laid the foundation for Alexander's enlightened views and strategic acumen. But it wasn't just philosophy and politics that occupied Alexander's youth. By the age of 16, he had already tasted the thrill of power and the weight of responsibility. When King Philip II embarked on a campaign, he left young Alexander in charge, a testament to his faith in his son's abilities. Alexander's mettle was further tested in the Battle of Chaeronea, where he led the left wing of the Macedonian army to a resounding victory. This experience on the battlefield not only honed his military prowess, but also gave him a glimpse of the leader he was destined to be. Thus, at a tender age, Alexander began to show signs of the extraordinary leader he would become. In 336 BC, a significant event would propel Alexander to the throne. An air of unease and suspicion filled the air, as the news of the assassination of Philip II, Alexander's father, spread like wildfire. The reins of power were suddenly thrust into the hands of a young prince barely out of his teens. Yet Alexander, named after the legendary hero, was not a prince to be underestimated. Alexander's ascension to the throne was not without its challenges. He was stepping into the shoes of his father, a seasoned warrior and diplomat, who had unified the quarrelsome Greek city-states and built an alliance strong enough to challenge the mighty Persian Empire. The young king had to prove he was not just a placeholder but a worthy successor. Alexander moved swiftly to consolidate his power. He used a combination of strategic alliances, political maneuvering, and when necessary, sheer force to quell any rebellions. He demonstrated his military genius early on, crushing revolts in the northern territories of Thebes, Athens, and Thessaly. Alexander's decisive actions sent a clear message to any who dared to challenge his authority. He was not a king to be trifled with. His swift and brutal response to the rebellion in Thebes served as a stark warning to other city-states. The city was razed to the ground, its inhabitants were sold into slavery, and the once thriving metropolis was reduced to ashes. This show of force cemented Alexander's authority and ensured that no other Greek city-state would dare to rebel against him. In the 2 years following his father's death, Alexander had not only secured his throne, but also proved himself a capable and ruthless leader. He had quelled rebellions, secured alliances, and demonstrated his military prowess. His rule was now undisputed, and his kingdom was stable. With his power secure at home, Alexander turned his gaze eastward, towards the vast Persian Empire. His ambition was as boundless as the horizon, and he was ready to write his own chapter in the annals of history. The world was about to witness the rise of Alexander the Great. Alexander's ambitious campaign against the Persian Empire began in 334 BC. Bursting with youthful energy and a desire to carve out his own place in history, he set out on a journey that would forever change the world. First, let's talk about the Battle of Granicus. This was Alexander's initial encounter with the Persian forces, a crucial test of his leadership and strategic prowess. Despite being outnumbered, Alexander led his men with an audacious plan. With a bold cavalry charge, he broke through the Persian lines, achieving a stunning victory that left the Persians reeling. Next, we have the Battle of Issus, which took place a year later in 333 BC. Here, Alexander faced King Darius III of Persia himself. Despite the Persians' numerical superiority, Alexander used the terrain to his advantage. He positioned his forces with the river Pinarus to his back, forcing the Persians to narrow their front and neutralizing their numerical advantage. This brilliant strategy led to a decisive victory, even capturing Darius's family. The Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BC was perhaps the crowning achievement of Alexander's military career. Darius had chosen a flat, open plain where he could use his superior numbers to encircle Alexander's forces. But Alexander, ever the innovative commander, used a series of complex maneuvers, including a feigned retreat, to draw out the Persian forces and create gaps in their lines. He then led a daring charge straight at Darius himself, causing the Persian king to flee and effectively winning the battle. Throughout his campaign, Alexander demonstrated a deep understanding of strategy and tactics. He was able to adapt to different situations, using the terrain, the strengths of his own forces, and the weaknesses of his enemies to his advantage. His innovative tactics and bold leadership not only won battles, but also demoralized his enemies and inspired his men. But more than just a brilliant military strategist, Alexander was a visionary. He sought not just to conquer, but to create a new world order. He encouraged his men to marry local women, adopted Persian customs, and spread Greek culture throughout his empire. His vision was of a united world, a universal brotherhood of man, under his rule. In just a few short years, Alexander had toppled the mighty Persian Empire and had become the ruler of Asia. He had achieved what no one before him had dared to dream. And in doing so, he earned himself a place in history as Alexander the Great, the legendary conqueror. Alexander's relentless pursuit of conquest would eventually lead him to India. This was the easternmost point the Macedonian king would reach in his vast empire. The exotic land of India, with its elephants and unfamiliar warriors, presented a new challenge, but Alexander, ever the fearless leader, plunged into battle. His troops, however, were growing weary. Their homes and families were a distant memory, and the promise of endless conquest no longer held the same allure. In the sweltering heat of India, the Macedonians faced a formidable foe. The Battle of Hydaspes was one of the most difficult they had ever fought. Despite emerging victorious, the cost was high. The weary soldiers, pushed to their limits, mutinied. They longed for the comforts of home and refused to march further east. Alexander, with a heavy heart, conceded to their demands. He turned his army around, marking the end of his relentless pursuit of conquest. The journey back to Babylon was fraught with difficulties. The empire he had created was vast and diverse, teeming with cultures and peoples who did not always see eye to eye. Alexander had to use every ounce of his diplomatic skill to keep the peace and maintain control. Once back in Babylon, Alexander fell ill suddenly. Despite the best efforts of his physicians, his condition worsened. Rumors swirled about poison, but no concrete evidence ever came to light. His friends and generals watched helplessly as their king, once invincible on the battlefield, was brought low by an unseen enemy. Alexander the Great, the undefeated warrior, succumbed to his illness and breathed his last. Alexander the Great, the man who had conquered the world, died in 323 BC, leaving behind a legacy that continues to intrigue us. His life was a dazzling spectacle of ambition, courage, and conquest. His death marked the end of an era, but his story continues to captivate us, a testament to his enduring place in the annals of history. In his short life, Alexander achieved what many would only dream of. His vast empire, stretching from Greece to Egypt and as far east as India, was a testament to his military acumen and leadership. His victories not only expanded the boundaries of his realm, but also the horizons of the Hellenistic period, fostering a synthesis of cultures that forever changed the landscape of the ancient world. Yet Alexander's life was not without controversy. His thirst for conquest, volatile temperament, and untimely death have given rise to countless theories and debates. Was he a visionary leader or a ruthless tyrant, a victim of poison or a fatal illness? These questions continue to intrigue us, adding layers of mystery to an already extraordinary tale. It is said that upon his death, when asked to whom he left his empire, Alexander simply replied, "To the strongest." Such was the life of this remarkable man, a life that continues to captivate us more than 2 millennia later.